morning to everyone on Zoom. I can't see you, but you can see me. Thank you very much for inviting me and for being here. As Galen mentioned, I teach at the San Antonio Zen Center. I'm also, I guess, the director there. And one of the things that I decided needed to happen is we needed to love up all of our trees. And I don't know that much about trees, but I know when they're all gnarled and not breathing well and like that. So I invited some people to come and give me like an estimate of what it would cost to take care of this. What does this tree need? What about this pear tree that the squirrels keep eating half a pear and then throwing them down and we drive over them and like that. So Luis came, who is my sister's, she has a lot of land and so he takes care of that. And we went through the property and then he looked at the building and he looked at me and he said, I don't want to be nosy, but what is this place? What do you do? Okay, that's the test, right? That's it right there. This is where I am right now. What do we do? What's going on here? So I didn't want to just give some elevator pitch of like, you know, but basically, what is Zen? You have to be ready, right? So I talked with him a little bit about it, and then he talked with me. And his enlightenment experience was something to the effect of how he lost a lot of weight because he saw through the marketing ploy of the food industry that has candy and gum and sodas at everywhere you turn, even in a clothes store or a computer store. You can't escape. And he saw it, and he stopped, and he lost all this weight. So I thought that was a pretty good story. It was probably better than my little recitation of what is Zen. Listening to all your announcements, I feel like the Dharma has already come forth this morning with all that you are offering each other and how you support each other. So it always helps to have someone from the so-called outside come and appreciate the Sangha practice, the Sangha jewel. So I'm letting you know that. Some of you who are been around for a while know of Katagiri Roshi and know the kind of humorous juxtaposition of two of his books. That the first one in the late 80s was called Returning to Silence. So that's one thing we do here. We return to silence. And the next book was called You Have to Say Something. And that's what this talk is. And literally it's what it is. It's about having to say something. So what I want to say, first I want to get at it at a sort of sideways way, which has to do with my own practice, because that's kind of how I teach or how I communicate. But I think my questions will resonate with you. How much are we really, truly trying to change who we are? How much do we want to be someone better? And then you can put all the things, younger, smarter, whatever, fill in the blank, right? And how do we want to be received? Like, what is it that I want you to get about me? How do I want to appear? And what is it that I want you to experience? As if I could control that, right? But it's something that I think animates us a lot of the time, is we want to come across a certain way. We want to communicate. So please excuse this next sentence, but I wrote it, so I'm going to read it. I grapple with the existential shame of being human. But think about it, right? We also grapple with the pride of being human. It's the same, right? It's the same dilemma. But this sort of, I don't want to show up. I want to show up, you know. Mom, look at me. don't look, I'm not here, right? We all kind of wish we were a little different and better than we are, and we really wish we knew how people saw us, because we know how we see other people, and we know where we put them, right? I used to fret, well, I still fret when giving a talk between the dialectic of preparing and being authentic. Because I used to, and I don't anymore, but the residuals still operate, if that makes sense, that being spontaneous was the only way to be authentic. That was an example of wrong thinking, of mistaken view. Think about our ceremonies that we do here, those of you that are, we rehearse them, we have to say certain lines, but we have to be there for them, right? Or what would a play be like if everything would be improv? Now, life is improv, it's true. But sometimes you prepare. And I think preparation is something maybe I need to work on my relationship to, and I invite you as well to think about not so much to control how you show up, but to consider and respect how you show up, if that makes sense. This quote is a little bit tangential, but it helps me remember something about our practice. And I know Jiryu Roshi was here a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, huh? Mm-hmm. And I just got to know him recently, and I'll tell you a story about him later. But this book, the Becoming Yourself, just the title, right? Becoming Yourself. Good old Suzuki Roshi says, Nyogen Senzaki Roshi's last words were, don't put another head on top of your own head. So Suzuki Roshi says, when you put another head upon your head, you are involved in foolish, self-centered practice. Even if it is Buddha's head, you shouldn't put it upon your own head. It is better to have only one head. To try to attain enlightenment is to try to put another head on top of your own. You cannot move so easily. We are not trying to put anything on top of our head. We are just trying to experience who we are and what our own head is. That's all. Our practice is to find our own head, not some other head that is upon our head, and not our always thinking head. It is not possible to think about your thinking mind. It seems like it is, but it's apparently not. Or to see your own eyes. But there is a way for us to realize what our own head is. When we knock on it, we will feel it. This is my head. We realize our own head when we are under some limitation. I thought that was a really interesting way to end this bit, like he just introduces this limitation and just leaves us there. So I'm bringing that forward as a sort of investigation. How is limitation a good thing? This being in form. So we are who we are, human being. You're not a rock, you're not a dog. You're a dog. You're not another person. You're not anyone else but you. And so even though we're one with everything, right? The whole universe existing now, Shinshu Roberts said this great phrase, you are not a blob of oneness. So we're not going to transcend just this person. It's just this person, right? That is where we want to be. I think of Shakyamuni's enlightenment, the stories I've heard of what happened through the night and the morning of his awakening, Shakyamuni Buddha. When he saw the morning star, he was said to have said or realized, I and all beings are the Tathagata, the thus come, here now. And I used to think it meant the whole world woke up with him. It might mean that, but now I have the idea that although he felt the oneness of everything, he knew it was he who woke up in that moment, and he saw the potentiality of the whole universe. And I think there's something to that, because remember how hesitant he was to teach it. He did not want to have to, okay, step one, we're suffering. So there's something about that I take heart in, because, you know, the world is overwhelming, and the wish to relieve suffering, when you even consider it for a moment, can be just so, there's just so much. One thing I learned with Jurya, we had a couple of good laughs. I had just met him, but he said the translation of to save all beings, to save everyone, is really save anyone. Just want, you know, you can't save everyone, save anyone who's ever in front of you. So just this moment, just who you are. So we reveal who we are, regardless of our intention to reveal who we are. We come forth. I'm revealing myself right now, probably was revealing myself as I took my bows, as I stood beside Galen Roshi, my good friend who introduced me, right? You're revealing yourself right now, just sitting. And I call it like having a vibe, you know, people have a vibe. And maybe someone you meet for the first time, you have an idea of who they're going to be, and they turn around and it's completely different. And you have to reorganize them in your mind and open to who they actually are. They're revealing something, they're saying something. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's, if you're interested, it's page 70 of Aiken Roshi's The Mind of Clover, and I've never forgotten it. When you let go of your old perceptions of people, you give people a chance to change. When you do not let go, you are participating in the continuation of their faults in your mind. And we do this with ourselves as well. The way we participate in the continuation of our own obstacles and faults because we think we know who we are. And really, in this practice, I feel like we're practicing who we are. We're trying to get the hang of it, of being me. Remember that, I didn't know I was going to say this. I wrote it down, but I put it at the back of the talk. Remember that Gary Larson cartoon with all the penguins? And there's one in the middle. He's going, I've got to be me. I love that because he's in his Sangha. He's all one with all of them, but still, only he can be him. She can be her. So our life is not hidden. Practice realization, what Dogen calls practice realization, is not separate from this very life. We don't need an extra head. We don't need something else. We just want to stop and listen. We don't begin our practice once we clean up our lives. Cleaning up our lives is our practice, whatever cleaning up your life might mean to you. So when we speak, we express our understanding, even if that's not our intention. We show who we are. When we move, when we sit, anything we do, we are revealing ourselves. When you go meet with the teacher, which you were invited to do, there's practice discussion, Dokusan here, it can be a little intimidating, and it kind of should be. It took me a long time to accept that it was intimidating because I'm trying to bring forth something and I want to be seen, I want to be met. Well, the teacher wants that too. And the teacher is there, like Galen said about this, we all want success, right? We all want it to work. So the teacher wants that for you as well when you go in and ask your question. You may ask your question hoping you will get a response that will help your practice. But really your question is already your revelation to the teacher. You're already exposed. Sorry to say. So for me, one of the distinctions I work with is I don't want to perform myself, which I can fall into. I'm going to perform Karen now. I'm going to watch myself and I'm going to present what I want you to think I am, right? So backing away from presentation, but also not falling, no, don't go to sleep. Don't just work from your impulses. I don't just want to not pay attention to how I'm being. So for me, there is this, how do I show up? How do you show up? This moment is the whole universe manifesting itself, and it's just me being me. I have to do that part for the universe to work. How do we do this? So, how do we find this in our Zen practice? Well, I have two answers. I have two good recommendations. One, Zazen. You may have heard of it. It's really good. You get to exist. You get to feel your life. You get to do less. You get to build your confidence in being in this body and mind. It happens not by you building your confidence. Confidence builds because you sit there and you are present with whatever nonsense is going on, whatever enlightenment is going on. You're just holding it all. You're not adding on. You're not creating harm. That's the real benefit of Zazen, is you sit down, you be quiet, and you're not, hopefully, causing any harm, at least to yourself. It's very particular. It's you, facing you, and it's okay. No shame. I have another good way to practice this. Studying Dogen. Sorry. Whoever made that announcement about the Dogen class, is it a class or something where it's like... Yes, and so you're going to sort of take it easy and not parse line by line. I have a friend, she's 88, she loves Dogen. She hates when I try to explain anything. I just want to love him. He just, he moves her. It makes you, right? But I've also been told it's good to study and learn a few things because some of the phrases actually refer to something in particular. They're not just weird poetry, they actually refer to something, and it's sometimes good to know what that is. So it's good to study too. But once you start on number 33, Do Toku, it's hard to stop. It just, there's so many wonderful layers. He is the epitome of pithy, I have to say. Because people have taken something that's 5 pages long and written a 200-page book on it. I really admire pithy, not my strong suit. One thing that Shinshu said is, don't just take something you don't understand in Dogen and equate it with something you think you do understand. But I do that. So with a nod to her, and I think she's right, I still do that because it's my way to get into what she calls the ballpark, the Dogen ballpark. So, skipping over some things, getting to Do Toku, it's number 33 in the new edition. That, and I've read the Fascicle several times. I've read a couple of different translations. I've read footnotes. I've done my due diligence, and now I want to teach an 8-week class on it, because I can't get to it all. But it's related to what I'm talking about, I hope. All right, so I cracked myself up. It's fascinating to unpack even how I study Dogen. I get to watch how I receive his teaching. He takes one theme and writes 95 fascicles on it, and it's amazing. And I have to confess, because he can feel impenetrable and circular and repetitive and like he's playing games sometimes. I once said to my teacher, Sojun Weitsman, this is my confession, is Dogen really all that? Okay.
It's all right.
It's just as well if it's not recording. If you ask me.
No, it's recording.
It's recording, but can you guys hear back?
Can you hear me? I've never had a problem being heard, right? I said, is Dogen really all that? And, you know, at the time he was probably translating something with, and he just looked at me as if I had said some. Oh, he said yes. So ever since then, I've taken to study with some heart. And that's one thing Dogen says in this fascicle, do toku, which is to say something, or it's the saying itself. I came up with all these sayings that cracked me up, like the benefit of the doubt, or different sayings we say, and the content of them, but also who we are when we're saying them. Dogen, I think, also means to say something worth saying. Even though we're expressing ourselves all the time, is it worthy? Is it furthering the Dharma? Is it bringing us forward? You can say something, obviously, without saying something, without speaking. So when I bow at the altar, what is my teacher saying? By the way, he always held his teacup. And then you see people holding their teacups, but who are they being? Like, he was just being him. They were trying to be him. See the difference? Yeah. So I want to read the intro because I find it organizing for me. Do-toku, sayings. This essay was written at Koshoji in the autumn of 1242. It appears as number 33 in the 75 and 60 chapter and 39 in the other. Okay. The title theme, Do-toku, refers both to the act of saying something and to the saying itself. For Dogen, to have something to say is a defining characteristic of the Zen masters. As he says in his opening lines here, the Buddhas and ancestors are their sayings. Indeed, elsewhere, Dogen is often dismissive of those figures in Zen literature who have nothing significant to say for themselves. Yet here, he reminds us to take a broad view of what it means to say something. In the first section of the essay, Dogen makes clear that not saying anything can also be the expression of a saying. And in the subsequent section, he explores a saying by the famous Tang Dynasty monk Jiaozhou Konshen that recommends sitting fixedly without saying anything. Then he ends his brief essay with the example of a hermit whose saying consisted of having his head shaved. If we get there, I would like to tell that story, but it's something I'm still pondering. So to say something and to study what it means to say something, I'll read the opening bit. Buddhas and ancestors are their sayings, those who can say something or a saying itself. Therefore, when the Buddhas and ancestors select Buddhas and ancestors, they invariably ask whether or not they can say something. This question they ask with their minds, they ask with their bodies. They ask with their staffs and whisks, they ask with their pillars and lanterns. If they are not Buddhas and ancestors, they have no questions, they have no saying, for they have no place for them. Those sayings are not something got from another, nor something expressing their own abilities. It's just that when they truly have the thorough investigation of the Buddhas and ancestors have their sayings. So that's a kind of quintessential way Dogen works with language, remembering that he wrote in, I guess, what is considered the equivalent of medieval English in Japan, in Japanese and some Chinese, and then it's been translated. So with that caveat, we have these wonderful translations to ponder. And Dogen is expressly asking us, ponder, investigate. He says, it is said, he says, Buddhas and ancestors, it is said with all their might. And for me, what this brings up is our urgency for practice. And we can fall into a sleepiness of rote expression. And it's really good to remember the urgency we come to sit still with each other with. What is this urgency? And then how do we say something about that? It also makes me think of that line in Tozan, right? The meaning is not in the words, but it responds to the inquiring impulse. The meaning is sometimes in the words. The words do communicate something, but when it hits the mark, you know it. When it misses the mark, you know it too, which is just as good in a way because of the intention to hit the mark. Does that make sense? You want to hit the mark. You want to meet the other person. You want to receive their Dharma and express your Dharma. Even when you're talking about candy at the checkout. What I appreciate about Suzuki Roshi and Sojun and everybody who's taught, oh gosh, we have an amazing Zen world, a Dharma world in this country, in the world, how it's grown in 50 years, is that there is this urgency to know who I am and what this life is and how I meet it. But there's also this space, this relaxation, to take it easy, to be gentle with yourself. One of the ways I've been talking at San Antonio for some weeks, because I know some of you a little bit, but there I'm getting to know them, and so I'm trying to really serve them. And I've been speaking about the importance of having a good question. Like your practice should have a question, even if it's just, what is this? Which is a good question. And Dogen urges us thorough investigation, but I remember that it is about saying something that is really worth saying. And we should know that sometimes we're saying stuff and we're just trying to relax. And so we get into the habit of performing ourselves or going to sleep on ourselves. And this practice is meant to be our life, not just something on Sunday morning or whatever, right? That we have every opportunity to say something. And it's just you, yourself, together with all of existence. It's not coming from the outside, right? Don't seek outside yourself. At the same time, it's not just within you, because you're not who you think you are. It's some activity. It's some functioning, which is just this beautiful mystery, I think. So another thing that Jiryu and I don't know, I think he said all the wise things. I laughed at them and now I'm stealing them, but it was something like, you can either understand yourself or you can live yourself. Did he say that when he was here, something like that? Probably. That's what I love. You're not going to remember much of what I said. They're not going to remember what you said. They're going to remember how you made them feel, right? Right? You've heard that. You can understand yourself or you can live yourself. But living yourself requires some awakeness, some reflection, some effort to be better. Okay, another thing we talked about is, isn't it funny to just get up here and start preaching the Dharma? He said he felt awkward sometimes to just get up and speak. He's like, and I told him, and he said that because I told him the story of I lived in a community that was sort of Hindu adjacent, as it were. There was a guru a nice Jewish guy from New Jersey, right? Guru, American guru. His guru was also a nice guy from New Jersey. But we did this ceremony called darshan, which many of you have heard that term. Darshan is to see or seeing. And you go in and the guru is sitting there and you bring prasad, a gift, and you bow before the guru. You give him the prasad or her the prasad. You bow and then you receive prasad in return. And then there's a darshan, there's a meeting, there's a gaze. And then the next person does, and the next person does. And Jiryu said, oh, that's like this group effort to entreat the guru to please bring forth the Dharma, please teach us. And he said, we don't exactly do that. We just have this little chant where we say, an unsurpassed penetrate. It's barely met with, like, good luck. Good luck. But still, it's our invitation, right? It's our invitation. It's like that thing in that phrase in the Jukai ceremony, the staff is now in my hand. I can't let it go. I feel a great responsibility sitting in this seat. So to say something with all our might, what is my saying? Make the expression your own, knowing it is not, but you are not a mute. So, great Master Zenji of Jiaozhou, our good friend Jiaozhou, addressed the assembly saying, if for a lifetime you don't leave the grove, sitting fixedly without saying anything for 10 years or 5 years, no one will call you a mute. After that, even the Buddhas won't reach you. So a mute is one who is unable to respond. It's like whatever that mute is. But that doesn't mean being silent is the same as being mute. So if for a lifetime you don't leave the grove, the monastery, the practice place, your practice seat, if you don't leave, if you stay with it, no one will call you a mute. And I love this phrase. I don't completely understand it, but I made up something. And the Buddhas, even the Buddhas won't reach you. Like Dogen says that in other places, even the Buddhas can't comprehend something like the power of 1 minute of Zazen. Like, what is a Buddha? That's a good question, right? Because there are humans, there are Buddhas. And we need them to remind us who we actually are. But there are places we go, there are states we bring forth, there are meetings we have that can't be comprehended, they can only be lived. So even with difficulty, we can have a joyful life because it's such a great mystery to be a part of it. When we want to say something, and it's important, it is important to prepare. It's important to have something worth saying. How am I doing on time?
Fine.
Okay. A woman I know, a young woman, has invisible disabilities. Many of you may have them here in this room. We don't see what everybody is working with, but hers are severe, and she needed to let her community know, her loved ones, her friends, all the people telling her what she should do. How could she lovingly tell them to back off? That she was practicing with her situation, and she was welcoming their meeting with her, their care for her. But she was clear she needed a certain boundary. She needed a certain container to do this work in, to work with her situation. And she worked on this letter, and she sent it to me as well as these people, and it was long, but it was clear, and it was strong, and it was her. And I just found that so inspiring. How hard it can be for us to just say to another person, this is who I am, and this is what I need, and not control how they receive it, but you manifest who you actually are. That's not putting a head on top of your own. It is not, right? That we sometimes have so much trouble letting ourselves just be ourselves. And at the same time, you don't want to just fall into your habits. So the tightrope, right? The razor's edge. So I'm going to do something brave or hard or something. I'm going to try to tell this story. I didn't write it out, and I don't want to just read it, but the story of the monk. Do I have time to tell the story of the shaving? This is in Do-Toku, and it's Dogen. I love this. He will just be talking about this, and then he just tells you a story. And it illustrates perfectly what he's saying, supposedly. So, just saying. I've read this story many times, and now I have this really warm feeling. So basically, there was a monk living near a temple in the mountains, just taking care of himself and practicing, and he let his hair grow and his beard grow, is what I understand. So he wasn't keeping the monastic way, I guess, is the point of that. He was apparently a valley drinker, meaning he dipped water out of the stream and drank from. So another monk came upon him or went to visit him and asked him the very endearing question, what is the meaning of Bodhidharma coming from the West? Meaning, what is this Zen practice? What are we doing? But this is a saying we have in Zen. What is the meaning of Bodhidharma coming from the West? And the hermit just said, I have a long dipper, and this is how I drink, basically. This is what I'm doing. And the monk was alternately either blown away or confused or had some big reaction and went back to Zeppo, Zhuifang, and told the story. And Zhuifang said, well, this is interesting. This is amazing. It makes me think of Jiaozhou and the old woman. I'll go check her out. He said, I'll go check him out. So he goes, checks him out. And he says to him, if you can, basically he says something like, if you can say something, I won't shave your head. Oh, okay. I guess the shaving head might mean like, I'm going to get you in line, or, can you reveal who you are and your understanding? That's how I take it. And this monk just went and washed his head and came back to Zhuifang and offered himself. And Zhuifang listened to him in his effort, and he shaved his head. So Dogen goes on and talks a lot about what does it mean? Does it mean the hermit didn't have anything worth saying? Could Zhuifang have done something more Zen and said like, ha ha ha, this was great fun, or what? And he just shaved his head, and I got this it's very tender actually when you think about it. It's like, show me who you are, and it's like, here I am. And he goes, well, okay, I'll do this thing. It's so intimate in a way. It's like not a Zen performance. It was this beauty. And that's what I feel about this practice, is that we have this beauty and we need each other to do it together. So I feel that way right now with all of you listening with your beautiful faces, not running away screaming. It's always a good sign.